when did you fall in love with the sweet science?
With what?
When did you fall in love with boxing?
Oh, I would say I really fell in love with boxing was that Ugas fight. That was my first, professional boxing match I ever went to, and I'm all about the mindset, and I'm all about determination, the effort, like the grit, the just everything that's tenacity, the ferociousness. Like I used to love like Mike Tyson. Like I also love Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali, one of my favorite fighters of all time. And I studied them and I watch all their clippings and their mindsets of how they train and what would they do. And when I saw it in person, it was like instant. I was like, wow, like this is crazy. And I instantly fell in love with it more than just over the phone and watching these guys. And that fight that day, that's when I like fell in love with Earl Spencer. What he's done and where he's at in his career. Um, Not just about what he's done, but who he is as a person and what he wants to be and how he thinks and things like that. I was like, man, this guy's for real.
That's fantastic. Now, I know that you were at the fight when he took on Crawford for the undisputed
Hmm.
welterweight title. Were you surprised how Bud Crawford dominated that fight?
Yeah, I was very surprised. I would have bet my whole everything on Earl. That's how much belief I have in him, and I still had that belief in him. So when I see the rematch, I'm still rooting for Earl. I just think when it came to that moment of who was more prepared, and that's one thing I understand about the nature of violence. Violence is forced upon one who is more prepared, and I just think Crawford may have been and showed that he was more prepared. He was more ready for that moment than Earl. I don't think that the skill gap of what most people are saying is that much like bigger, but I think Crawford went into that different space and he showed that. Um, and that happens to everyone. Mike Tyson, he got caught and he got beat down because that guy was more prepared. He went into that different space. When Muhammad Ali beat Joe Frazier, he said I'm gonna wear him out. I'm gonna take my beating, but he went into a different space and won that fight. So when a person goes into that different space and you may not be prepared for it, and when you see something different, it might surprise you. And I think Earl was a little surprised. And when you surprise, it's hard to. And people think, oh, it's that easy to bounce back. But when you get shocked, bro, it's hard to come out that tunnel, man. And only the really, 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 really top five, like point 0.5% come out of that tunnel, and it's very rare. So not everybody got Brady moments. So we can't look at that in the nature of sports. It's not too often.
What do you think about Spence not only initiating the rematch clause, but obviously wanting to fight it now at 154? And I guess Bud Crawford's camp responded and said, sure, we can do it again, but we're going to do it at 147.
I think that's a little weak. I thought the Spence his rematch showed what we saw in the fight that this guy is right from the south side, and he wants to get it on. And one thing about that fight was no one's talking about. They talk about the beating. Spence could have went down after he got knocked, and everyone said, "Oh, Crawford could have won by just TKO knockout." But Spence said, "Nah, man, I'm gonna keep fighting for my life. I'm gonna keep showing y'all. I'm gonna keep getting up. This guy can't break me. This guy, he may break everyone else, and they might quit or feel confused. But Spence was like, "No, I'm not. I'm not gonna let this guy take this from me." And that's something that people not realizing. Spence has the most heart in boxing. You see the Ryan Garcia. People said Ryan's so soft because he didn't want to get up. He feared Tank. Spence said, "Man, after come on, like you're gonna have to keep doing this. I'm gonna keep coming back. And he was still pushing the tempo. A lot of fighters might have backed up or just try to hold on, but Spence went out fighting, and I don't think that's talked about enough. And I think Crawford should give him to him at 154.
Hmm.
You know, Especially because he said he wants to go up and fight Charlo. So why are you making exceptions? You want to make exceptions when you want to go up, and then you say you want to fight Canelo. To me, if you about that life, you about that life. It don't matter what weight, what time, where we at. Hey, if you really want to get it on, let's get it on.